Hey everyone, welcome back to So, Who Are You Really? Real Life Spirituality. I'm the moderator, Chris Lanning. Again, I am joined by our host, Bryan Winston and Jody Lemieux. Welcome back, guys.
Hey, Chris.
All right, so today we are going to dive into skepticism, especially around spirituality. This may come as a shock to you, but there are some people that are skeptical about spirituality. Have you ever encountered such resistance?
Never.
None at all.
I had resistance with myself for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
So already we're coming to the first conclusion that there will always probably be a healthy skepticism around this.
Yes, I would agree.
Yeah. Yes. I would say yes. And I think that our relationship to that skepticism changes, but I think is that really true? I don't know if that goes away unless you're an enlightened sage like Jesus or Buddha or something like that. I don't know if they were skeptical. Maybe they were, but
So the original idea for this came from, I asked about the term woo-woo. Like people go, oh yeah, you get all those spiritual practices are kind of woo-woo. So I was telling you guys this last week, but I dove in and looked up where that term came from. So this is funny. For those that are older generation, you remember the Saturday Night Live skit, The Coffee Talk, with Linda Richmond, sitting around and it's like, I'm feeling verklempt, and she talks amongst yourselves. Turns out she was the mother-in-law of Mike Myatt, who was, one of the Saturday Night Live comedians. Now, he based those skits off of her. Well, she wrote a book one time on dealing with loss. And in it, she said she dismissed what she called the woo-woo spirituality in favor of some straight talk on living with loss. But that's actually, from what I found, the first, in print use of woo-woo spirituality, which I just thought was kind of interesting. Now I'm feeling all verklempt, so talk among yourselves.
What it seems like is for her is she was looking for real answers. She suffered a loss, and there was someone in her life who passed away, and she's here looking for like, okay, but what do I do? Answers. And she started to bump into all this like esoteric kind of speak about loss. And she was looking for like practical, okay, maybe I don't get, but I'm looking for answers here. And I think that's where the term, that's obviously based upon what you're saying, Chris, that's where the term came from, is like, it's not like, it's like missing its grounding in what people are actually experiencing.
So that just made me think there, and Jody, I'll direct this to you, but is perhaps a lot of the skepticism around spirituality is just because it's so outside of what we've known up until this point?
I would say no.
Okay.
And the reason I say no is because it's based on where your beliefs lie, where your beliefs are grounded, where your beliefs are currently in this state. And so skepticism, the way you're describing it, talks about the Western culture, the Western ways, the Western traditions versus the Eastern. Spirituality has always been around. However, here in the United States, it has carried a different meaning up until recently. Up until, Chris, you brought this conversation to us, which I think is beautiful. Skepticism. I know for myself in my own personal journey, I was a skeptic. The way I was raised, some of the traditions I currently now carry and some of the beliefs I now carry are different from the way I was raised. And so I too was a skeptic. However, I turned my skepticism into curiosity. And then so from my skepticism to curiosity led to awareness and led to a shift in my belief systems. So people on this journey of spirituality, I would encourage you to be in a place of curiosity. I know we've talked about curiosity before in other episodes. It's really an important place to be in because it allows you, the individual, to question what you believe with an openness, with an open heart. rather than judging yourself and being skeptic and carrying, as what Bryan and I talk about, the lower vibrational frequencies of blame, shame, hate, and guilt, when you rise to the level of love and compassion, your skepticism turns into curiosity, which then turns into awareness, and you can shift your beliefs.
Would you agree with that, Bryan, or do you have a different take on that?
No, I would agree. I love the whole idea of going from skepticism to curiosity. I think they could seem like the same thing, but one could lead to the other. Skepticism could lead to curiosity, and curiosity many times leads to the truth. So there's nothing wrong with being skeptical. I think if we allow it to walk us down a path towards like what's true, what's real, and our answers. I had a good friend who was an atheist, and he and I used to have really interesting conversations. And his atheism came from his experience, like his experiences with religion growing up. You know, I think his mother or his grandmother got taken for some money from a minister at some point, and like there's some other reasons too. And he's also a very intelligent guy, and he took some of those emotional things that happened to him in childhood that he saw from religion, and he started to back it up with like, it was skepticism. It was like, hold on, what are you guys saying? This sounds like ridiculous. First of all, people are getting hurt by this. People who I love are being hurt by this. And then he went from skepticism to curiosity. We started to look into different philosophies and different ways of understanding. And it's led him to a point now where he went from being a skeptic and being very, I don't know how to put it, but he could be a jerk about it. He could be a jerk about his skepticism. So to being curious, and then him leading to the point where he's an acceptance of people and what they believe, even if they're different from him. So I love what Jody said about skepticism leading to curiosity and where that can head.
So it sounds like, again, what both of you are saying here is that a lot of it does come from what we've experienced throughout our lives to get to the place that we are now, wherever we are in our journey on the spirituality. And having additional, let's say, positive experiences as we begin those practices, have you found that makes the skepticism go away a lot quicker in that process?
Jody?
I'm seeking to understand your question, Chris. Will you ask it in a different way?
Sure. So let's say you're somebody who's brand new to spirituality, and you are that one that goes, oh, that stuff is so woo-woo, I'm not going to touch that. But then somebody introduces it to you and you're really skeptical, but you do the first practice and suddenly you're seeing a benefit to that. Do you feel that as you do those additional practices that skepticism tends to go down in a multi-factor way? So it's like, you're kind of, think of like inertia, where you start to push a heavy car. Once it starts rolling, it gets easier and easier and easier real quickly. It's getting that initial step to get you going. Do you find the same thing with the spirituality skepticism?
Yes. And thank you for reframing your question. It led me to an awareness of my own growth and understanding. So when I was able to change my skepticism into curiosity, for me, when I'm in a state of skepticism, I'm in judgment. And so I'm refusing to understand. I'm refusing to shift. It closes my mind off. It shuts me off to learning. It shuts me off to new ideas. And so when I'm in an energy of skepticism, I'm really in a place of judgment of myself, judgment of my environment. And so when I move up in the level of consciousness to curiosity and to love and to being at this other realm of possibility, and you're right, it does open up it opens me up. It opens me up to other modalities, other ways of experiencing spirit within me.
It's more pleasurable It's more of a pleasurable experience, curiosity, than skepticism. Skepticism has a little bit of venom to it. And that may feel better than being confused, or maybe feel better than feeling a victim. But that skepticism has a little bit of venom. And I think once we're able to experience pure curiosity, it's just a better feeling place to be in curiosity than skepticism.
So I think the biggest takeaway just from this brief discussion is that whole piece of going from, like Jody said, skepticism being a place of judgment to going to a place of curiosity, literally changing your mindset, putting you in a different flow. And I think for those that are really skeptical on spirituality, this is actually a very easy reach because it's not some magical, mystical thing that's going on. You are changing your mindset. Recognize, like Jody said, that when you're being skeptical about stuff, you are in a place of judgment. You know, all around, we find that being in a place of judgment is generally not the best energy to have. Sure, there's things you do have to make judgments on, but in general, you don't want to be judgy about people. You don't want to be judgy about situations. And so I know, as Bryan has mentioned in the past, embracing that curiosity, like even when you're fighting with someone, just go, wait, I wonder why they did that. Why are they feeling the way they are? Mm-hmm. So again, spirituality is not this, doesn't have to be this crazy mystic, woo-woo thing. It simply boils down to changing your mindset. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes. And what the kind of a question comes up for me then, for the both of you, is what about, is there a such thing as healthy skepticism? You hear the term, having a healthy skepticism. I'd love to hear both of you, Jody and Chris. I would love to hear your take on what healthy skepticism could be, and if that is a thing, healthy skepticism.
What is your thought, Bryan, on healthy skepticism? Because we've been talking skepticism is more of a judgment from my belief and understanding, and the way I've experienced skepticism. Have you experienced skepticism in a healthy way?
Well, let's say someone comes to me with an idea. So I've been talking about this recently. There are people now in our time that believe that the earth is flat, called flat earthers. Right? There's a community of people, you can look it up. They believe the earth's flat. And instead of it being round, it is a flat surface, and then there's an underneath and around the outside of that is Antarctica. It's on the outside, and the Arctic Circle's in the middle of it. And when I hear this idea, I'm skeptical. and so my brain is saying, come on, what now? Now the earth is flat? Like, come on, bro, like stop that. So that's my skepticism. Right. And it's difficult to be passed. Now, is that I could argue that's a healthy skepticism, that I've been presented with an idea that is out of alignment with truth. Then maybe that's healthy skepticism. But for me to stay in that place of judgment, I can see how staying in that place of judgment doesn't serve me or serve someone who comes to me and says that the earth is flat. I think it serves me better to be curious. Oh, where did you learn that? What brought you to this conclusion? But that initial, hold on, bro, stop that. I would say that that's in some way a healthy skepticism. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Now hearing that, what's your take on that?
So I'm hearing judgment when I first hear it, because you've built a belief on their statement of the earth being flat. And so, however, there's humor behind your judgment. So I feel as though there's a leaning towards curiosity than a skepticism. So maybe there is such a thing as healthy skepticism in your experience. And so the way you've described it, I completely understand what you're saying, because then it turned into curiosity. Yeah. And when people make these bold statements, I know for my own personal experience, definitely skepticism. Wait, what? No, come on. Are you serious? Those types of thoughts come through. And so it's part of our human experience to be skeptical. Absolutely. However, shifting from the skepticism to immediate curiosity, well, let me look into this further. How did they come to this awareness that our Earth is flat? So I feel as though the way you've described it, Bryan, is a quick movement from skepticism to curiosity. I would agree with you there.
Mm-hmm.
Though I will say, I'm not sure what role curiosity will play when, I guess if I'm curious why that Nigerian prince, how is him sending me money going to help him? I don't know. That might be healthy skepticism there.
Yeah, you know what? Maybe it could be. First of all, well done, Chris. Second, I wonder what the distinction between discernment and skepticism is, because there's discernment, right? There's hearing an idea or receiving an email, and then having discernment, saying this is right, or maybe this is not quite true, right? And maybe instead of skeptical, we can be discerning, and discerning maybe less about judgment than it is about, or like saying that person, that this Nigerian prince is wrong and he's an awful person. Maybe that's one way of being, or come on, get out of here. That's obviously lying. To like, this seems out of alignment with truth. Maybe there's a difference there. I don't know. When you hear the Nigerian prince reference, right, Jody?
No.
So about 15, 20 years ago, everyone got these emails. Everyone got these, millions of people got these emails, and it was, I'm a Nigerian prince and I'm having trouble pushing money from this account to this account. Can you please help me? And then when you go down the rabbit hole, he's like, well, give me your account number. And it's a scheme, right? It's a what would you call it? Is it a scheme?
Yeah.
A scam. It's a scam. So that's the rest of the reference that Chris is talking about.
So there's a difference here then from your definition of discernment to skepticism, because discernment has wisdom behind it. So you're moving forward with wisdom and knowing the truth coming through you have an answer. Whereas skepticism still leaves you questioning it. For me personally, I'm in a place of disbelief. So there's a big difference between skepticism and discernment, for sure.
Mm-hmm. And disbelief is different than skepticism.
Yes.
Okay.
So I think we've tackled that one pretty well. So we've talked about how, skepticism is the place of judgment, and we want to move that into curiosity, and how there is a difference between discernment, which is using wisdom and deciding on an answer, versus skepticism, where you're going to be kind of living in that place of disbelief and judgment. Awesome. Good discussion as always, guys.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Bryan.
Thanks, Jody. Thanks, Chris.
And if you have any thoughts on this, except the part about the flat earth, we're not getting into that. If you have any thoughts or comments about skepticism, discernment, we'd love to hear it. Just go to the show notes and reach out to us and send it to us. And also, if you have any ideas that you'd like us to talk about on future episodes, please let us know as well. All right, guys, have a great day.